So listen, John, I got to talk to you first about something that just happened this afternoon. We started to see photos circulate on social media of you in your new custom Venom fight kit, black and red. I think it's is it a lion on either side? And Philippians 4:13 and a cross, of course.
That's awesome.
This is very you. How did this come about, and what do you think of the design?
I put a lot of thought into it, and I just thought about things I represent. I love the male lion. It's always been kind of my spirit animal, if I can say that. I love Jesus with all my heart. I've never been ashamed to say that or and represent that. And I love the color red. I read a long time ago that red is a winner color. Like teams that wear red, they win substantially, way more than other teams. And so that's just always been my color. And it's the corner that I represent. I've been in the red corner the majority of my career. And so I just thought I'd piece all those things together. I actually haven't seen the photos myself. So I can't wait to see it myself.
Sure, sure. Now, obviously, we are on take two of your Madison Square Garden debut. It didn't work out last year when you guys were trying to do it. There was the injury right before. We're pushed back now. But, how much, obviously, the fact that it's at the Garden, how much did you have to do with the fact that we waited a year to get this fight in the same venue? Did you have any role in that?
No, well, my injury was the only role I played in that. We were supposed to be here last year, same time. I ended up tearing my pec, and honestly, I didn't expect this. I didn't expect the sport to wait for me. But Dana showed me the respect that I feel I deserved, and both Stipe and I, he knew how badly we both wanted to fight against each other, and he gave us the opportunity to do it a year later, and I'm just very grateful. I haven't taken the opportunity for granted. I took my recovery pretty seriously. Right now, I feel like I'm in the shape of my life, and I'm excited to give the fans, the patient fans, what they've been waiting for.
Now, a torn pectoral, I mean, I don't know what the general recovery is for that, but would you have been able to fight sooner, or was this really pretty much about as soon as you should be back in the cage?
This is about as soon as I should be back in the cage. The injury was anywhere from 8 months to a year, and I feel like we're right around the 1 year mark. So, I mean, some athletes would still be using this time to recover, but I know the sport can only wait for so long, and I do feel healed enough to be in there. I'm not as strong as I used to be, but I'm smarter than ever. I have a lot of experience, and I'm plenty strong, and it's going to be a great fight.
When you say not as strong as you used to be, you mean pre-injury?
Yeah, before my pec tear, I was benching like, 315 I could do for 5 reps, and I had about a 500-pound squat for a few reps, and I was pretty strong. And now I feel incredibly strong still, but not like superhuman strength the way I used to feel. But I've never been a one punch knockout artist. I've always used my skill set, my fight IQ to get me through, and I know it'll carry me through another one.
Now, going back to, again, this is Madison Square Garden. You're a New York guy, but a few years ago, you kind of made it clear that New York had lost a little bit of its appeal for you in terms of being like the dream place to be. There's the financial aspect of it, taxing your
Yeah,
fight purse, that kind of thing.
yeah.
You didn't rule it out even then, but obviously here we are. Where do you stand right now with regard to the fact that you are fighting at Madison Square Garden and fighting in your home state?
Well, the tax concern is always going to be a concern. I pay some pretty high taxes, so that's never fun. But God's been really good to me, and financials aren't really my biggest concern these days. And for me, it's a little bit more about legacy. And I feel like being a New Yorker, it'd only be right to go home and give people who are closer to where I was born the opportunity to come out and support me. And so that's what it's about right now is just being at the Apple and being home.
So are you gonna like really soak this in, like the fact that it is New York? I mean, again, it had lost some of that stuff, but you seem like you are trying to at least embrace what you have now in this situation.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm grateful. In all things, I try to be grateful, and I'm grateful to be at the Garden. I'm grateful that our president may be there. There's rumors that he may be coming to the fight, which is really awesome. Um, Just New York, man. Just see myself on the big billboards and in Times Square. All of it. It's going to be really really fun. I'm supposed to be going to a New York Knicks. What is it? Knicks game?
Knicks.
Yeah, I'm not a big basketball game guy.
That's all right.
To go to that game, and then I'm supposed to go to a Jets game, and I'm just going to embrace every ounce of all of it. I don't have to cut weight this week, so um, I'm just excited to show my training camp partners, my teammates, just a really great time in New York, and then end it off with a win.
How do your brothers feel about you going to a Jets game? They never played for the Jets.
No, they never played for the Jets. No, my brothers are going. I'm sure they're gonna be happy for me. Hopefully, they stick around on Sunday to watch the game with me.
Sure, sure. Now, obviously, going back to the fact that you are at heavyweight now. You spent the mass bulk of your career at light heavyweight as one of the greatest fighters that we've ever seen. Um, you did take all that time off, three plus years to
Yeah.
bulk up to heavyweight. Your title win, of course, last year was against Cyril Gane. Brief fight, you took care of business very quickly. But what were some of like the key differences you noticed about maybe the way you moved, the way you performed, the way you fought compared to your time at 205?
I remember the first few seconds of the fight. I felt a little off balance, and it could have been the lights and all the people. It could have been the additional weight. Just being on such a big stage after so long off. I think it threw me off for a little bit. But the moment I made contact with Cyril Gain, everything just felt so familiar again. One of the biggest stressors for me being away from the sport for so long was the anticipation. The anticipation was killing me, man. I was just so nervous. I was just like, oh boy, 3 years, a different weight class, and all the expectation. I remember being overwhelmingly nervous a lot of times leading up to the fight. But when I got to the arena, I felt like, man, I know this place all so well. I grew up in these arenas, and I just felt more close to home the closer I got to the fight. And yeah.
Now, obviously, your opponent, Stipe Miocic, he hasn't fought in even longer than you took off. It's been almost 4 years, three and a half, a little more. Um, how much do you think kind of that, just having been in his shoes, having taken off time like that, how much do you think that layoff kind of affects maybe his side of this fight?
Yeah, I'm sure it will affect him. Not only the layoff, but who he's coming back to. Um, I mean, he tries to act very indifferent during his interviews, like he just doesn't care about anything. He doesn't care about the turnout. He doesn't care about what the fans say. He doesn't care about that. But just human nature, you have to care. You have to have a ton of emotions going on inside. He hides them very well, but I'm sure he thinks about it every moment of the day. And I mean, if he doesn't care, better for me. But um, I'm sure he cares, and I'm sure he has to be nervous. And I have some nerves too. It just means that we care.
Sure, sure. Now, one thing I've always been curious about you being at heavyweight now. I mean, people were thinking about you going to heavyweight a dozen years ago. This was a long time. People have had wondered, hey, how would Jon have done against Cain Velasquez? How would he done against Brock Lesnar, Junior Dos Santos? Those names, right? Those were people were very curious about that. Do you think it's possible that you didn't need to even take all that time off, change your body? You could have just gone up at 235, whatever you were walking around at, and become the heavyweight champion?
I think I could have competed without taking that amount of time off, but the time that I did take off, it helped me just develop my confidence and my physical strength, and it allowed me to take a step back and view the whole picture of the heavyweight landscape and who was winning, who was now, who was going to be around. Um, I feel like the time was necessary. Right now, I'm pretty light. I'm like 235, so. Um, but I bulked up. I got really strong. I felt how I was going to feel. I got that data down of how I would feel. And now I, more than ever, I feel like I don't need all that size to win as a heavyweight. But I'm grateful for my decision. And everything had its time.
235, that's interesting. I don't think a lot of people would have pegged you for that right now.
Yeah. I'm just a little guy, but I feel fast. I feel fast, and I'm very strong. I weightlift with heavyweights all the time. I compete against heavyweights all the time, and being overpowered usually isn't my issue. So I feel really good.
Interesting, interesting. Your coach, Brendan Gibbs, the other day, uh, said he was approaching this fight like it's the last rodeo, right? To what degree are you approaching this fight in a similar way compared to maybe other fights in your career, which, hey, every fighter can understand this could be the last one, but is there anything different here?
Yeah, I have this feeling that it could be the last one, but I'm also open for it not being the last one. I just try to take it the way I've always taken it, which is just one fight at a time. You know, being on top of this sport for so long, sometimes you feel as if you have such a large target in your back. And, like I've learned that, being in the future only creates anxiety. So at the end of the day, no matter how much competition is in the world, they can only fight me one at a time. And, uh, and so I just take it one fight at a time. Focus on beating Stipe first, and then who's next will come, and I'll give him my undivided attention.
So there is a potential for what's next, not necessarily walking away, but I am curious, have you thought about post-competition Jon Jones? What does that look like for you? Do you think about that at all yet?
Yeah, post competition, John. I have beautiful children. I have a beautiful fiance. I have great friends. I have a lot of young athletes around me that could use mentorship and guidance in the sport. Um, I have a lot of really good things to look forward to in life. Just growing into a really amazing American citizen that's just productive and helps and gives back. I have a great foundation on my care project. I got a lot of really cool things to look forward to outside of fighting, and I'm really grateful. I just brought a new home, and I want to build this home up to be just a dream home. So yeah, just so many different things to look forward to outside of punching people.
Two more things I wanted to ask you real quick. Number one, the specter of Tom Aspinall is kind of in the background of this fight. It's hard to ignore. He is the interim champion. You are the heavyweight champion with the original belt. Um, what would it take for you to be like really interested in that fight? Like what's gonna make you say, you know what, I actually want this fight?
I really nothing. I find him annoying, and and I mean he just I've been here for so long, and he just got to the UFC not too long ago. And if he wanted to fight me, he could have been here. I was like, where have you been all this time? At the end of the day, he has no real standout legacy. I think the only guy he beat was Andre Arlovsky, and Andre was very old at the time. So it's just like he really has nothing to that entices me. Nothing. He reminds me of a bunch of other up and comers that I fought that it does nothing for my legacy, like really nothing. Maybe if he goes on and like gets close to my win record, maybe I'll be enticed to come back and see, but I highly doubt he'll do that. So Pereira though, that's somebody that interests me. Pereira has these great sagas with he has these great fights with Adesanya, and he's beat Whitaker, and he's beat Jamal Hill. This guy is a champion killer like myself. That type of stuff entices me. We're both 37. We both pretty much weigh the same right now. That type of stuff entices me. But to
And
fight,
both two division champions.
we're both exactly. I'm going for um, fights that will financially just put me in a different category. I'm going for fights that people will look at 10 years from now and be like, Jon Jones truly fought the who's who, like the killers. I'm done with the you know guys that are trying to build names for themselves. The Francis Ngannou's of the world, the Pereiras of the world, proven guys. That's the only thing that can build my legacy at this point.
And I said the last question I did want to ask you, and this is going way back in your career, but it's also right now. I'm sure you're aware they overturned the rule banning 12 to 6 elbows, like the one from your disqualification loss to Matt Hamill, the only defeat on your record. Head of the California Commission, Andy Foster, who was kind of a proponent of getting this rule changed, he said not that he has any say in it because he's in a different state, but he'd be in favor of overturning that loss, even though it's all the way 15 years back. What do you feel about, like, do you think back on that fight? Do you want that overturned? Are you okay with it? What do you think when you think about that time in your career?
Yeah, I feel many different ways. You know, at the time, I was absolutely devastated to lose my undefeated record. But over the years, I've learned to accept it. It is what it is. I didn't understand the rule set completely, and my own ignorance cost me my undefeated record. Um, Now, today, seeing how far I've gone undefeated, I do know that it would help me market myself for my after MMA life, to be an undefeated fighter who's also a movie star or whatever I may be afterwards. It just looks good on my in my overall book. So I'd love for that to be uh, taken off my record. To hear that Mr. Foster is interested, uh, I hadn't heard that, and that's great news. I know Dana White himself has tried multiple times, and so far we've had no luck. But my fingers are crossed, and our sport's improving and growing every day. And I feel like the Matt Hamill fight should have been stopped way before the 12-6 elbows, anyways, occurred. So my fingers are just crossed. But if it doesn't happen, I'm okay.